this one is the One Mix Yoga 3. Now you may be asking why I have two very similar UMPC devices. Well, it's different. It's not the same size. This one is an 8.4 inch device, and it's the way you use it is different than the Pocket 2. So let's take a look at it. So One Mix is basically the main competitor to GPD right now, I believe, for making these UMPCs. There's also the Chewy mini book, but they all come from China. That's the kind of thing they all have in common, is they're all Chinese companies, and that's kind of a little bit of a shame because the Japanese companies really kind of started this UMPC category, right? They, like Sony and the other companies, Toshiba, Fujitsu, NEC, you know, like those Japanese companies really kind of started off the UMPC craze, and unfortunately Japan does not really make these anymore. So it's up to China to make these UMPC devices now. Anyways, the One Mix, different than the GPD, it actually has its logo on the laptop lid. The GPD does not, but I believe the P2 Max does, so they probably changed that. GPD realized, hey, maybe we should have our logo on the laptop lid so that people know, know our brand more. We can show off our branding more, just instead of just nothing, you know. I think I actually prefer to have a GPD logo here because it's like, you know, these are actually good Chinese companies. People like to say, oh, made in China is bad quality, etc., but GPD and One Mix make some pretty solid devices. They're Chinese companies, and Chinese products are getting better and better over time, you know. I think someday in the future they might be as good as Japanese companies are in terms of the quality of construction. And yeah, GPD does have its logo on the bottom here of the PC. They have their logo on the bottom, but not the top. I believe with the new P2 Max they did change it to have their logo on top here. And FYI, this is a direct competitor not to the Pocket 2, because like I said, the Pocket 2 is quite a bit smaller. Pocket 2 is 7 inches. The One Mix Yoga 3 is 8.4 inches. This is an 8.4 inch screen, that's what I mean, compared to the 7 inch screen. So they're not really direct competitors. The GPD Pocket 2 does compete with the One Mix 2S, which is about the same size, but it does not compete with the One Mix Yoga 3. This one competes more with the GPD GPD P2 Max, which is an 8.9 inch screen, and this is an 8.4 inch screen. All right, let's open up the laptop. Alright, so you can see that the laptop here is definitely the keys are definitely more bigger and roomier than the Pocket 2, given that this is a bigger device. Right, the specs are very, very similar. This is a high resolution screen. It's the 8.4 inch, and I believe it's like 2500 by like 1600 or something like that. Similar to your MacBook. 2560 by like 1400 or something like that. Similar to a MacBook because it's a 1610 aspect ratio display. Currently, there's only a few notebooks on the market with a 1610 aspect ratio display, which is the MacBooks, which I've always had those kind of displays, and then GPD and One Mix Yoga has a 1610 aspect ratio, which is actually better for reading, for productivity work and reading articles and stuff than your standard 16:9 display, which is nice. You know, I like 16:10 display. 3.2 would be even better though, but the only Surface Books and Chromebooks have that aspect ratio right now. Alright, so the keyboard here, you get a more fully sized keyboard, of course, the bigger laptop. These arrow keys, kind of interesting, okay? So these are more full-sized arrow keys actually on the Pocket 2. The One Mix Yoga 3, actually, the up and down arrows seem really squished. I'm not sure why they chose this design decision. It's really squished. Basically, they have these two arrow keys in the same size as like one arrow key. I'm not sure why they chose that, but maybe it's to fit in more keys here. They have a fingerprint sensor up here, and a power button is not the fingerprint sensor. I would have liked it to be the same button, but okay. And then you have F1 to F12, You have your standard mute and volume down or up. No brightness, no dedicated brightness buttons like on the Pocket 2 though. I'm sure there is some kind of function to adjust the brightness though. Maybe it's just not labeled here. Yeah, I'm not, and this is the fan, and this is probably, what is it? Looks like turning off the display. I'm not sure what this is. Mirroring maybe? Yeah. And then this is to adjust the brightness of the keyboard. This is a backlit keyboard, by the way, which is really nice to have, since apparently the One Mix Yoga 2S, which I don't have, that one did not have a backlit keyboard, and you know, a lot of people complain about that. Backlit keyboard is pretty essential these days, so I'm glad that they brought the backlit keyboard back here. Yeah, the caps lock button is truncated, not great, but I mean, okay, we don't really use the caps lock button that much, so it might be okay. But the tab button's all the way up here, which is really weird. That's one thing I wish could have changed. I wish they could have moved the tab button somewhere here. I know they probably would have had to squish it, but I would have preferred the tab button to be over here instead, up here. This is really weird to have it up here. Spacebar button is a nice size. Again, compared to the Pocket 2, very small spacebar button. The tab button is also up here on the Pocket 2, but that kind of is okay because of the size of this keyboard, so I can understand why they moved it up there. But on a keyboard layout with, you know, more room, like on the One Mix Yoga 3, I wish they could have moved the tab button over here. The other buttons seem okay, so it's just the very small up and down arrow buttons and the caps lock button that kind of got compromised here. The rest of the buttons are okay size. So the Pocket 2 used the optical trackpad or track point button up here. This one, the One Mix Yoga 3, has it in the middle here. It's not clickable. The Pocket 2's was clickable. This is not clickable. And the left and right click buttons are right here on the side. And this is a little bit weird. I haven't seen this layout very often. So how are you supposed to use it? Like this? And then you click like this with your fingers or something like that. This one is, you can use it to thumb type, I guess, but not as conveniently as with the Pocket 2. The Pocket 2 really is, with this size, it's made for navigating with your thumb and then left and right click with your thumb and typing with your thumb, right? So this is meant for thumb use. This one, I think you can use it more like a traditional laptop like this, right? But then I'm not sure, like this one, would I do this? Okay, I guess I have to switch my thumb like that. Okay, it's a little bit weird. I'm used to the track point, the optical track point, or the nub being the middle here, right? That's how it is on the Pocket 1, on the One Mix Yoga 1, which I also had, and you know, ThinkPads and stuff like that. So I'm used to doing like this, but this one is in the down here, right beside the left and right click. So it's a little bit of a weird layout. So I'll have to figure out how to get used to that. Other than that, the specs are very similar to the Pocket 2. The processor is the same, I believe. It's also an M3 processor, and it has 8 gigs of RAM, which is the same, 256 gig SSD, which is a little bit bigger, and the display is high resolution. You can also upgrade this on Geek Buying. I bought this from geekbuying.com. You can also upgrade the specs to like a 512 gigabyte or something like that, and a 16 gig RAM. But this is enough for me, since this is not going to be my main computer or anything. I do think this is a nice laptop to actually work on. The keyboard's going to be a lot more roomier, and the screen is going to be, you know, better and stuff like that than the Pocket 2. And then ports wise, you have, this is a micro HDMI out, it looks like, and a headphone jack on the side. And here you have micro SD, USB-C, also for charging, and a single USB port. So interesting thing is they have the same number of ports. The One Mix Yoga 3 and the Pocket 2 have the same number of ports, despite the fact that this one is bigger. And this one has a micro HDMI instead of another USB port. The Pocket 2 has 2 USB ports. The Yoga 3 only has 1, which is I think I'd prefer to have 2 USB ports rather than the micro HDMI. I don't know how useful that micro HDMI is going to be, but I think I'd rather have 2 USB ports. And of course, the Yoga is convertible, so you can also lay it down flat like that, or you can put it into stand mode, as Lenovo likes to call it, this kind of mode like this, which is probably how I will be using it, since I'm buying this mainly as a small computer to be watching movies on like an airplane or something like that. Yeah, so I'd be mostly using it like this, stand mode. Probably just go on a plane. I put up the little tray thing and I just watch movies like this. Of course, you can also use it as a tablet. It only weighs 1.5 pounds, so still light enough to be used as a tablet. Yeah, 1.5 pounds. You can still use it like a tablet, or you can put it into stand mode. Yeah, and watch movies on it like this, which is also pretty convenient. Or you can use it like a laptop, of course, like that. So, all in all, it's a very versatile machine. And what else do we get? Let's see here. I believe the S model comes with a pen. This one does not, because I didn't get the S model. I don't know how useful that pen's going to be. This is a USB-C charger. Of course, they both charge using USB-C, which is, that's expected. I mean, USB-C charging is pretty much the standard now, which is a good thing. We want to say goodbye to proprietary chargers, right? Yeah, the old days, every computer had a proprietary charger, and it was like a nightmare. Alright, so this is the manual, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's no pen because that's the S model. If you pay like 30 bucks more, you get like a pen or something like that. That's pretty much it. Okay, so it's the One Mix Yoga 3, and this one is a direct competitor to the GPD P2 Max, which just finished its Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. So for people who are thinking about whether to buy the GPD P2 Max or the One Mix Yoga 3, since they're direct competitors, there are some pros and cons. I'm not going to say either one is better than the other. There's no clear winner. If you want a bigger screen, the GPD P2 Max has a bigger screen. It's an 8.9 inch. This is the 8.4 inch. The GPD P2 Max is a touchpad. This one has this optical nub here, which probably isn't going to be as good. So if you like an actual trackpad, then the P2 Max has that as well. They use the same processor, have the same specs, so spec-wise they're pretty much similar. I'm not going to get the P2 Max. I got this one for a few reasons. One is that this is a backlit keyboard. The P2 Max does not have a backlit keyboard. This has 6-row keyboard. The P2 Max only has a 5-row keyboard. But their keys are a bit bigger to compensate for that. So if you want a more, familiar typing experience or a better typing experience, more comfortable, bigger keys and stuff, P2 Max is probably going to be better because they fit 5-row keyboard into a bigger kind of keyboard space with the trackpad. So that's going to be more comfortable, but they lack an extra row of keys, and I think I'd rather have the extra row of keys. Other than that, this one has a micro SD card slot. The P2 Max does not. I think they have an extra USB port though. So it's really up to you, depending on your needs. And of course this one is convertible as well. The P2 Max is not convertible. So it's really depending on what you're looking for, right? If you want a bigger, slightly bigger with a trackpad, more comfortable keyboard layout, bigger screen, 8.9 inch, then the P2 Max is the way to go. If you want kind of a smaller size, if you work with micro SD card slots a lot, or micro SD cards a lot, and you want to have an extra function row backlit keyboard and convertible, then the Yoga 3 is the way to go. I think the Yoga 3 has more functionality, so that's why I chose this one. They're both around the same price. This is 750 bucks. The P2 Max is also around that price, I believe, 700 to like 900 bucks for the top end models. About the same price and same specs as well for the screen and the processor, everything, that's all the same. And then the GPD P2 Pocket 2, right, is different. It's a smaller laptop, right? This one is, if you really want like a really super portable laptop, then you can get the Pocket 2. But it's in a different category than the Yoga 3 and the P2 Max. Yeah, this one is competing more with the One Mix 2S, I think, and the Chewy Minibook. And then you have the micro PC for if you want kind of something special. This says full-size ports, which is really nice. And it's the smallest out of all of them. But you lose out on the Lumia keyboard. You have to work with kind of a weird keyboard layout here. Yeah, but depends on what you want. Micro PC for people who want those ports. The Pocket 2 for people who want a really portable netbook type device. And the Yoga, I think, is really good for people who just want a small computer that's actually workable, that's actually usable. You know, the screen is definitely a good size, and the keyboard is, you know, roomy and everything. So I think if you're looking for a computer that can actually be your main laptop, I guess, the One Mix Yoga 3 or the P2 Max can definitely be like that. It can actually be your like main laptop due to the size of the display, the keyboard and everything. Like the Pocket 2 can never be your main laptop because it's just way too small, right? Too cramped. This one can actually be your main laptop if you want it to be. So, oh, and it has status indicator lights too. I've not seen those even on regular computers or regular size laptops. But yeah, that's it. That's the One Mix Yoga 3 compared to the Pocket 2, GPD Pocket 2 compared to the GPD Micro PC, which I did in another video. That's it, guys. If you have any questions, please leave me some feedback in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. That's it. Thanks for watching. Something else I want to show you guys is just how small these PCs are. So just looking at the Pocket 2 and the One Mix Yoga 3, you don't really get to see just how small these PCs are in comparison to a regular size device. So for a comparison, let's look at my iPad Pro 10.5. So this is my iPad Pro 10.5, right? With the bridge keyboard attached. And you can see just how small the One Mix Yoga 3 and the GPD Pocket 2 is on top of the iPad Pro 10.5, which is already small to begin with if you compare it with something like the MacBook Pro 15, right? So this is a regular size laptop, the MacBook Pro 15, and then the iPad Pro 10.5, which you can see is a lot smaller than that. And then the One Mix Yoga 3, just quite a bit even smaller than that, than the Pocket 2, which is smaller than that, and the Micro PC, which is smaller than that. So you can see the size comparison between these devices. And you can see now why it's so impressive for these UMPCs to have the specs that they do. I mean, just look at the size-wise, it's pretty impressive what they managed to fit inside such a small computer. And yeah, I just want to show you guys that. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't know just how just comparing these two, you don't really get the sense of appreciation for the amount of technology that they fit inside these things. But yeah, that's it. It's cool stuff.